So guys, first of all, I want to address the elephant in the room. This is a spot. It's not a Siamese twin, so it's quite gross. I've been picking at it, but it just hasn't gone. Anyway, this is it's more of a leg training video than it is a spot talking video. No, then it is a food video. But I'll probably record my full day. Oh my god, look at this!
Oh my god! Oh my god! You've got a bone him.
Look at that!
I'll have him.
He didn't consent to that, did he? He wasn't very happy. So yeah, it's a leg video. It's my lower A. Sorry, I don't want to turn around because you can see that and you'll get grossed and log off. It's a leg day video. It's my main leg day video. It's my favourite session of the week and my least favourite. That's why it's my favourite. It's my leg session. I have one in the week at like 6 p.m. So like no caffeine, and it's a good session, but it doesn't feel as good. Whereas when you have caffeine, it does, doesn't it? So it's not loads of caffeine. I've got a monster today, but so anyway, as such, my leg session, my main one, is placed today because I have the time, I can have caffeine, and my day can kind of revolve around that session. It's also the most disappointing when you don't hit numbers, if that makes sense, because you put so much into it. But anyway, I will record it. So like I said before that horse rudely interrupted, I will be doing a full day of eating, or I'll at least try to. I'll start by recording some meals. I've already had meal one, it's here. It was just cream of rice. I got sick of that cold cream of rice I was having. It literally went from one of my favourite meals to like, I couldn't even stomach it. If there was any water left over, because it was in the fridge obviously, so the sides got a bit wet, I always felt sick. I was vomiting a little bit eating it, so I think it's a means to swap it out. So it's still cream of rice, it's just a hot one with chocolate orange instead, and I melt the dark chocolate inside, so even though it doesn't look the nicest, that's what I do. I have that banana, which I mix in, and that's literally it. The macros in that will be here, so it's a very simple meal. I would normally have a bit of oats with it, but I've got less time between meal one and my training. Meal one's my pre-workout meal. It was, normally I like it like 2.5 hours before I actually eat, before I train, sorry, but this time today it'll be like 2 hours. And I like to be fully digested before legs. I can have nothing. I like to almost be hungry, which I can imagine other people can relate. But yeah, first of all, we are going to my sister's. We are going to feed her cats. I'll try and probably get them in the clip if they're actually there. Oh no, they will be there actually. She recently moved house, so they're all stuck in the house. Here they are. She looks like she's using the litter tray. She's not. It's a little toy. You are also cute. So yeah, I'll film. No, I won't. I'll eat these. I won't eat the cats. I'll feed these now, and I'll probably catch you guys on like a pre-workout walk. So it's my pre-legs walk. It's quite windy, so when I get to the front, I might have to like stop the video. But essentially, I'll talk you through the session. I'll record and do a voiceover because I haven't got a mic that's good enough to cut through the music. The mic I bought a year ago is quite cheap. It picks up the music and makes it worse, if that makes sense, than not using it at all. So I'll get a new mic at some point and do like a session where I can, like, what's the word? Like a mic'd up voice session. It's quite humid today. It's like really warm. As you can see, I'm quite sweaty. It's about 20 odd degrees and it's not sunny and it's really wet. So it's always, I'm a bit breathless. So as you'd expect, training legs when it's humid, it's brutal. But we'll get it done. We'll still hit failure. And sometimes if it's that bad during the session, I'll do like integrated partials, some sort of intensity technique where I can not let lungs be the limiting factor. Before every session, so you saw my pre-workout meal, I'll make sure I have at least 3 litres of water across the morning, not in one go. And electrolytes in half of that, so 7 grams of hydroflow. And obviously I had a coffee, I wanted coffee. My caffeine's still insistent on that, which is why I'm only having a monster. So we're back in the car because it got quite windy towards the end of that clip. Although now we're at the gym, it's a generator in the background. It's probably worse, but I don't know. One thing I want to bring up before I actually start the session and talk you through the session is the importance of recovery. Now I'm not going to go into detail because obviously I've mentioned how to recover and that in the past and how important it is, but it's so important. Like what you do in the gym doesn't matter if you're not recovering well, especially with something like legs. So any more demanding body part is going to require more recovery. So for example, if you're training arms or delts or even chest, when you're knackered or when you're under recovered or when you're under fueled, you've still got that grit, you've still got that drive to kind of push through a set. Whereas with legs or with back, or well, a hinge with back, not with a single arm pull down, but with legs or with a hinge, you just need a bit more oomph, and you haven't got that oomph if you're under recovered. If you go into the gym half asleep, you're not going to be able to drive that set. And what you can normally get for like 10 reps on a hack squat, for example, you'll be surprised how you might even struggle to get 1 if you're under recovered, because your brain's just not in it. So recovery is king. So speaking of hack squat, one thing for me personally, I can't do any sort of squatting at the moment. I haven't done for about a year. I can't load my spine because it sets off my sciatica. I never used to have sciatica. It started during my last prep and it just hasn't gone. The only thing I can load my spine on now is the calf raise, and it's quite heavy, so I don't know why my body lets me off with that. Maybe it's because, I don't know, whatever it is, for some reason my back's happy with that. but I can't do any sort of hack squat, pendulum squat, any squat. So you'll see I have 2 leg press variants. That's why. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a downside. I just like a squat pattern and I can't do it. So before you're thinking, oh, he's saying leg presses are the best, I'm not necessarily. If you can get away with a squat pattern and it feels really good in your legs and it's giving the right stimulus to the right muscle, then obviously do it. And then finally, before I start the session, these recovery demands that I'm talking about, this makes the volume I'm doing today specific to me. So you might be able to get away with more training volume, you might be able to get away with less. So if you're super strong and you train like an absolute animal, you'll probably end up doing only 1 set on most of these compound movements, whereas on some of them I can do 2. But if you're new to training, or even just training hard, you might be able to get away with doing 3 sets, sometimes even 4 sets of these compound movements, because you can't truly take it there, and you'll get more out of learning the movement as opposed to just doing 1 set, never really learning the movement, and then a week goes by and you've kind of forgotten neurologically what's gone on. So it's all unique to yourself. My quads are a weak point. That doesn't mean I just ramp up the volume. I'd love to, and I've tried that. It just makes the quality worse. My legs are a weak point, and you'll see that I only actually do 5 sets of quads on my leg day and 5 sets on the other leg day, and half of my leg extension. And the reason is, if I do more than that, my quality dips. So what's the point enough my volume on a weak body part if the quality goes down, if that makes sense? You want the best quality you can. For me, if I keep my quality as it is now, and I start doing 6, 7 sets per session, I just don't recover in time for the next one. But yeah, that's enough of me waffling. I'm gonna go and train, and I'll do the voiceover when I'm back in the car, so I'll see you in a second. So that was an absolute belt of a session, solid 9 out of 10. So firstly, you'll see me here, bigger purple trousers on, so you're definitely not gonna lose me. The first exercise is a calf raise. So the reason I do it first is because, well, firstly, if you do it at the end of a session, most of the time by then you're battered, like especially after compound sets and that sort of thing. So you can never truly like bring the intensity you need to for like smaller muscle groups like calves. So that's one reason. Another reason is it warms up my calves and my ankles for my squat patterns or my leg press patterns. So you'll see when it comes to them that my range of motion's all the way down. So I do need a lot of ankle flexion, and doing calves first just helps that. It warms up the tendon, so it just saves the risk of injury. I am wearing my hood up. Reason being is not because it's cool, it's just because if I wear the hood down, the shoulder pads are just digging quite a bit and I take away from the set. Well, to be honest with you, when I look back at the clip, I think my head was cut out of it anyway, so I apologise for that. But most important thing here is spend time in the stretch. So at the bottom, you'll see I spend about 1, sometimes 2 seconds for a pause at the bottom and then go up. I'll squeeze, or I'll contract as much as I can. You can't always go up all the way to the top. If you can, great. If you can't, don't worry, because at the end of the day, the calf responds very well to a stretched position. I do 2 sets, my back off set. I do a rest pause set, so I do a normal set, and then when I fail, I rest 5 breaths as opposed to setting a timer, and then I go again, and then I go again, and that'll be it. You could do 3 or 4 straight sets. I just prefer this. It just saves 5-10 minutes. You could just do a myo set or a rest pause set from set 1, but I like this. It works for me. The next exercise is, you see my shoes are off here, so I'm slowly delayering a seated hamstring curl. I do 3 sets, resistance profile 5, 5 and 3. I find that with resistance profile 1, I just end up getting like 10 partials at the end. So I find 5 is the best for me. And then by the 3rd set, I find that a similar thing happens with profile 5. So I go to profile 3, all to failure. Every set I do is always to failure. No intensifiers here, just 3 straight sets. That's my hamstring work for the day. So you'll see that I'm stretched as I can, but I won't go to the point that the tension goes off the muscle and into the tendon behind my knee, because I've had niggles there before. So I just keep it on the hamstring for as long as possible. Make sure you drive here. People neglect quads or leg extensions and ham curls quite a bit, and they don't truly train to failure, and you should, because these can give you so much bang for your buck with less fatigue than just doing constant compounds. As you can see as well, I wear a seat belt. Reason being is it locks me in. If you don't wear a seat belt, you'll find that your hips come up, especially towards the end, and you can't bring it to failure as well as if you don't wear a seat belt. So make sure you wear a seat belt. If you don't have a seat belt, buy one. I forgot where this is from. This was Gym Shop, I think. I can't remember, but yeah, anywhere you find a seat belt, just buy a seat. So the next exercise is the bread and butter exercise. It's a side by side squat press. I think my jumper, my hoodie's come off as well, so I'm like a pass the parcel. I'm just slowly stripping exercise by exercise. This is the main exercise of the day. This is the exercise I dread the most across the week. It used to be a hack squat, but like I said before, I can't do that anymore. And that had the same anxiety before it. So the first leg compound, or the main leg compound of the week, could always have a bit of preset anxiety, or mine does quite a lot. But goal with this is as much range of motion as possible. I go pretty much as I can. If I went any lower, I do hit the stopper, but I don't need to go lower. So I could put pads behind me, but I don't need to go lower, because as I go to hit the stopper, I kind of lose that range of, or the active range of motion. I go more to a passive range of motion. So this is the most range of motion I can do, and it is a lot. With a hip press. I say this to clients all the time. With a hip press especially, you want to make the most of the fact of the hip press, and they are made so that you can get a really good stretch and you can go all the way down to the full range of motion. You can't do that as well with a linear leg press, but you still can. People do cut the range of motion short on leg presses, and they put a lot of weight on, and they end up putting just as much weight or tension through the muscle as if they just did a full range of motion with less load. And with the less load and more range of motion, you obviously get into a deeper stretch, which we know excites more muscle growth than the short position typically, or currently should show so anyway. And there's no harm in doing so, and it's better for your joints because there's less load going through your joints, but there's much tension for the muscle at a great range of motion. Anyway, it's better. I do one top set here. I normally go for a set of 8 to 10, but as you can see here, I only did 6, I think, because I just fancied a heavier set. I did 290 for 8 last week. This is 300 and I got 6. I couldn't have got another one. I mean, you could argue saying I could have gone down for another one, but I think it would have just taken away from the rest of the session too much, and I definitely wouldn't have got it up. Also, what you'll see on all my leg compounds, and every compound I do really, I don't spend too long at the top where I can help it. So every time I take more than 2 breaths at the top of a leg press, that'll be my last rep typically, unless I really think I can get another one. Because if you're spending 3, 4, 5, 6 breaths at the top, you're basically just doing a set of like rest pause singles, and it's just not worth it. It just takes away from the exercise, and it's just way more fatigue than you need. So my can's going nuts. I apologise for the aircon, it's been on the whole time, so it's quite noisy. The second set is what you're probably already watching. It's an integrated partial set. So I go all the way down to the stretch, I do like half a rep, go down again and go again. This is what I do anyway, and it's what I was going to do because of the humidity on my top set, but I didn't need to in the end. It wasn't actually that bad. But the benefit of this is my legs truly fail way before my lungs. It gives me like 2 breaths per rep, and it gives me an extra half a rep in the stretch. So there's like 2 reasons why you should do it. It's really good. If you haven't done it before, give them a go. You could do it as a top set as well, but I find that this is the most taxing set of my whole session, of my whole week. It's absolutely brutal. Like, because you've got that extra breath, the last 3 full reps feel like fail reps, and then you've got more and you've got more. So I always make sure to actually fail in the hole on this set safely. Don't be silly and blame me. The next exercise is then a glute exercise. I've actually reduced the load on this recently, and I will again soon, because I want to use as little hand like help as possible. I used to really almost lock my elbows, and I was basically doing a tricep exercise, a chest and tricep exercise, a dip. So what I do now is I do as little hands as possible. So my hands are still there, but as you can see, my elbows are quite like loose, they're quite lax. Towards the end I was pushing a little bit, so I'll probably reduce the load again. And my back off is a plate aside less, and that was perfect. I didn't record that one. My next exercise is the final compound, and it's a hammer strength leg press. This would be a squat pattern if I could, but it can't. I do 1 set here. I did try and do 2 sets in the past. I just wasn't recovering enough, and it would make the quality of each set poorer. I had less like single set mentality, if that makes sense. For those of you that do 1 set sometimes, you truly like send it. With this, I wear squat shoes because it lets me put my feet low on the platform and get more quad. I really focus on, with this and a lot of my quad movements, I focus on bringing my knees as forward as possible without being silly, whilst keeping my hips on the pad. And that just allows me to really focus on my quads. I do use the grip, and I do pull yourself into the seat, make the most of the handles that you have when you're on a leg press. But I keep my hands there, but I almost try and think of pushing with my quads as much as possible, and then using my hands as little as possible, if that makes sense. So I want to keep my ass down, but I don't want to be pulling so hard that my whole body's pushing for the rep. I want my quads to do as much as possible. Like I said, it's 1 set. Again, I'll try not to take too long at the top. I won't take a piss, but I want to get a few breaths just so I can make the most of the 1 set that I actually do here. I might bring it up to 2 sets again soon, but at the moment, there's no way I can. My quads genuinely, they hurt until the next session, and when I was doing 2 sets, it was impairing that next session, because the next session's in only 3 or 4 days. And then going to my isolations, I do abs. I used to do abs at the start, but it took away from the leg presses quite a bit. So I do 3 sets. This is the top set. I will reset these next week. So as you can see, my hips kind of sag towards the end, and I'm using a little bit of momentum. And I took that away for the other 2 sets, which I didn't record, and it felt so much better. So load isn't always better. Yes, chase progression, but not at the sake of just swinging weights around. That brings me back to the actual ham curl, actually. I'm quite strong on ham curls, as you probably saw. That was 220 kilos for however many reps it was. But I used to be like stack out the whole thing, and I had decent looking form, but I had to reduce it to this load, and I could really focus on my hamstrings. And it's not because I have super strong hamstrings. That isn't why the load's high. It's because of my biomechanics. I naturally am just very strong at leg curls and my deadlifts. When I used to do them before I did the whole sciatica thing, I used to be a very strong deadlifter, not because I had big muscle, but because of my biomechanics, long arms, long legs. It just was good for hinging. And I'm terrible at some things. I'm terrible at squats. I've always been weak at any back squat. I've never done like more than 3 plates a side. Granted, the last time I did a back squat was before I got into bodybuilding, but still that's quite a weak amount. Next exercise is the final leg exercise. No, it's the final quad exercise, and it's the leg extension. These on my other session are at the start of the session. So on this session, they're at the end because I want to prioritize the presses, and I don't feel like I need them. My knees don't feel too bad during presses, touch wood at the moment. Make sure that if you do an isolation like this towards the end, you genuinely bring it, because I've absolutely battered by this point, but you still have to train as hard as you can. I was going a bit too heavy on this, so I've reduced it, as you can see here. Will I reduce it again? I don't know. Sometimes I think people get too trigger happy with resetting. So if something gets hard, it gets sticky, I'll reset. Just accept that sometimes things you just have to grind through a little bit. You don't need to add 5 kilos to a side each week, but at the same time, don't be reducing things by 20 kilos because you didn't get 6 reps, whatever it is. And the last exercise is the adductor here. And with this, I see a lot of people bringing their hips forward and almost letting their hamstrings and glutes do a bit of the work. Keep your butt as back as you can and aim to bring your knees together, not your feet together. So if anything, I almost think of my knees together, and I think in my head that my feet are going to be slightly outwards, and that almost lets your legs doing this, it almost lets them do this a little bit. Don't actually do that. You'll see what I mean when you do it. You kind of have to get your feet with it, but it'll just engage your adductor and nothing else. I did this in the past, and I must have literally reduced the weight by the stack by about 20% for the same reps. So anyway, that's it. My rant is over. Like I said, this is all within my recovery capabilities. The adductor was 2 sets. The prime extension was 2 sets. The abs were 3 sets, if I didn't say that before. So my total quad work is 5 sets. Hamstring, 3 sets. Adductor, 2 sets. And then abs. So it's not the longest session. Well, it is. It took 2.5 hours. It's not the biggest in terms of volume, but it allows me to get the most out of my session and recover before the next one. So even though you can get away with more volume typically because your recovery capability is better, that doesn't always mean more sets. Sometimes it means less sets and you just can get kind of more reps out of it. So just find your own recovery capacity. I do it with clients all the time. We'll start on a low volume program, and we'll adjust from there. Some things need to come down, and some things we can kind of like keep trickling in more volume until we hit a wall where things aren't progressing anymore and we put down again. But like I said, that doesn't mean every set has to progress. But that's enough of me waffling. I will catch you for the post-workout meal. So guys, bit of a rush because I'm going to go meet my old man for a coffee. I've just got out of the shower, and I told him I'd be half an hour, and that was 25 minutes ago. So I'm going to wolf this down now because it took me a while to make. This meal is, you've seen it loads of times before, so it's literally skier. I have 400 grams of skier. It's all mixed together, so I'm not even going to make it look pretty for you anymore because you've seen it a million times. Picked lady apple, dates, oats, frozen raspberries, frozen blueberries, honey, nut butter. I think that's everything. I also use a little bit of flavour drops just because the yogurt's quite tart. If you have more honey, you probably wouldn't need them, but I only have 15 grams today. My appetite isn't that large after training, especially after legs, so I'll have this, and then I'll have a slightly larger meal failure anyway because it's a Saturday and that's what we do. I don't think this one's been on the channel before, so how exciting. It's meat and a carb and a bit of veg, so it's the same as it always is, but it's a different actual meal, so you'll see how that's made together later. So I do macro track. I don't see the point in having a strict meal plan. Well, I do, especially in a diet, but in an off season, I think it can just be limiting for a lot of my clients, unless you're like a professional bodybuilder, obviously, and you absolutely love the lifestyle, go nuts. But if you're not, and you really love the lifestyle, but you still miss a bit of food, just be a bit more flexible. Doesn't mean you have to be an absolute bell end and eat loads of junk food, but still keep it healthy, because that's what's going to fuel performance, and keep it relatively consistent, like the numbers before and after training, the number of meals a day that you have. So have some sort of like structure, but I think with time, what happens is early on, it's very good to have a meal plan, because it teaches you that structure, and the more years you do it, the more you can kind of be flexible, because you know what your body does best, if that makes sense. You understand your body the best. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't understand my English the best at the moment. With myself, I find that 4 or 5 meals is optimal, like I said in the last video. I find my pre and post workout meal are the biggest meals in terms of carbs, usually, not on a leg day. It's post workout's usually a bit smaller for what I said before. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm waffling. I'm already late, so I will catch you guys probably for meal number 3. It depends if I'm 3 or 4 today, but whatever. So guys, meal 3. I just want to look. Our drain is leaking. I don't know if you can see that. That is so bad. Can't really focus on it.
But the decking was nice.
Oh, it's so bad. Literally, ever since. So that is from when we had the roof done, and we had to like get some more. What's the word done? What's the word done? What's the word for it?
Rendering.
We had to get some more rendering of part of the wall. So, you know what I mean? I think it's like kind of been washed off and blocked the drain lower down, so we don't really know what to do. So any advice, let us know, but that's our drain pipe now. So the neighbours love us in the middle of the night when that makes a noise. Anyway, next meal is a little meal that I have between meal 2, which you saw, and the meal that me and Faye are having later. One of these, it's not the best, it's 30 grams of protein. It's basically yogurt with a bit of cereal. It's a bit healthier than the protein puddings. Not as nice, but digest much better. I literally buy them for like just in case, but obviously today isn't one of them times, and I still have it anyway. And then I have 100 grams of sourdough with 30 grams of jam. The macros will be on the screen here. And yeah, I'll be eating again an hour and a half anyway with Faye, so I'll catch you then. So guys, you're catching me in work here the next day because I realised that I didn't actually record the meal 4, which I had with Faye yesterday, but I did record like a little snippet of it, which I put on my Instagram. So I'll put it here. Like I said, most nights when we have a meal together, it's literally a meat, a carb, and some sort of veg or fruit or whatever. Last night was our nacho bowl, which is literally just 2 white wraps from Asda that we chop up into little triangles or tortilla shapes, as you can see in the bowl. We then put them in the air fryer for 180 degrees for like 8-9 minutes with a bit of salt and like spray oil. And then on top, we literally put beef mince, which obviously we cook with, what do we cook it with? It's like a barbecue seasoning, El Paso barbecue seasoning, I think. If I remember to, I'll put it here, but I probably won't. Then we have salsa, avocado, all the macros that will be here. Sometimes I have beans with it. I ran out yesterday. Cheese on top, obviously. But yeah, it's a really nice meal. You still have this as like a diet meal with like, it's not the best diet meal because potatoes are probably better than white wraps. But you could have 1 wrap instead of 2 and you're saving 120 calories there. But it's still like a nice thing to do with your partner. So we have that. I forgot to record it, I do apologise. It was very, very nice. And then we literally make the avocado into like a guacamole. So it's like lemon juice. Sometimes I have salt with it. Faye doesn't like salt on it, so we have it on the side. And then lemon juice, what's the other thing? Cayenne powder. You know what I mean? But yeah, now I'll catch you for the meal 5, or you'll go back to the original video, which has meal number 5. So guys, our last meal, or my last meal, is here. It's my oats, as always. It's 50 grams of oats, 70 grams of ground rice, 50 grams away, I think. Macros that will be here, apple, dark chocolate, peanut butter. And that's it. I'm not going to kind of talk about it much because I wanted this video to focus on the leg day that you've already seen. I will do videos for the rest of the split. I do a legs, push, pull, rest, lower, upper, rest every week. I do prefer more of like a rolling split, like a upper, lower, rest, or whatever. But I tend to find that for me, because of my work schedule, I do like to have set days doing set things. Because if I do like a certain workout on a Saturday and it's a really good workout, but then the next time I do that same workout on a weekday after work, then obviously numbers will be slightly down or slightly different because of obviously different times of day, different amounts of caffeine or pre-workout or food, all that sort of thing. Anyway, last meal's here. Total macros will be here. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.